All right, Cowboys Nation. Let's talk about this win that the Cowboys just got over the New York Giants. I want to first give a shout out to my man CJ on Twitter. You can follow CJ at DCowboys, DCOWBOYZ 4, the number 4, LIFE76. He went ahead and posted for you guys to come to this. I'm not sure if anybody's going to be here. It doesn't even matter if anybody's here, because let's talk about this. There is so much to talk about this game that the Cowboys just won. The Cowboys beat the New York Giants 19-3. They finally get a win. It's been a long time since the Cowboys have been able to get a victory over the New York Giants. It's actually been since 2015, the first game of the year, when Tony Romo miraculously led the Cowboys down to in overtime to beat the New York Giants. Since then, in the Dak Prescott era, the Cowboys have not been able to defeat the New York Giants, but that all changes tonight. The New York Giants thought that they had the Cowboys' number. If you remember earlier in the week, the New York Giants coach, Ben McAdoo, he made a couple of comments that were not very well thought out, I would say, because if you look at it, at how this game ended, it looks like Ben McAdoo kind of was a bit wrong. And so let's talk about it first. First, he made the comment that the Cowboys' running game did not scare him, something like that. He said the Cowboys' running game, I think what he exactly said was, every back runs the same when there's nowhere to run. Zeke Elliott had over 180 something yards tonight, not just rushing, but just all purpose. And then also, you look at the other comment that he made about the Cowboys secondary earlier in the week, and if you check Blogging the Boys, you know that I wrote a column on Blogging the Boys about that, where he said he asked if anybody could name the cornerbacks that the Dallas Cowboys actually put out there. Well, I hope that Ben McAdoo remembers the name Anthony Brown, because Anthony Brown was the one that sealed the deal with his interception on Eli Manning in the fourth quarter to give the Cowboys the ball back, and they go ahead and kick the field goal to make it a 19-3 win. Look, this game was not beautiful. It wasn't pretty or anything like that, but you know what? Games in the division aren't. They're never very pretty, okay? You're not going to have a lot of games that end in the division where you're just like over the moon because they just completely dominated. But the score in this game is a little bit less important than what they actually did, because they really did dominate in this game. If you look at it, it wasn't the offense that dominated what we're used to with the Cowboys. It wasn't the offense that dominated. It was actually the defense that dominated in this game. And if you look at the Cowboys defense, they really showed up. You're talking about on the first drive of Eli Manning, DeMarcus Lawrence gets his first sack of the year. Then, later on in the game, he gets another sack. And then Charles Tapper gets a third sack. The Cowboys get the interception by Anthony Brown. You got a lot of things going on here, a lot of things to be excited about. The defense, as young as it is, as unknown as it really is, truly is, you got to give them credit. They played really, really well. If you look at this game, if you look at how this game ended, the Giants only got 3 points. Their offense never got going. And, the Giants are going to make excuses. They're going to say, well, Odell Beckham wasn't out there. Odell Beckham. And you know what? That's a big time deal. Odell Beckham is a huge deal for them, and Odell Beckham is a great player for them. But at the same time, Odell Beckham is not the only player on the team. And, like any other team, like the Steelers have become famous for, and the Cowboys too, next man up. Next man up. The Cowboys lost their best corner in this game. Orlando Scandrick went out in this game, and he did not return. He has somewhat of an injury there to his hand. We'll see where that goes. But if you look at Dak Prescott tonight, I think if you look at what he did against the Giants in his last two outings, they were the worst games he had. He struggled against the New York Giants. He struggled against this defense. The Giants' defense is incredible. They're very good. They're very underrated too. People talk about the Seattle Seahawks defense. people talk about, the Denver Broncos defense where the Cowboys will face next week. But you look at the New York Giants defense, and, what jumps out to me is that they are just solid on the line and solid in the secondary. Their linebackers aren't so great, but their secondary, headed up by Landon Collins, by Janoris Jenkins, and by Eli Apple, they're pretty darn good. It was going to be hard for the Cowboys to move the ball against this offense, and you saw that. Now, Dak Prescott, after struggling against the Giants the last couple of times he's played them, he had a pretty good game if you take everything into consideration. He completed 24 of 39 passes for 268 yards. He had a touchdown, no interceptions, and a 90.5 QBR. Now, that's not on the level that Dak Prescott performed last year, where he was well over 100 in QBR almost all the time. But it doesn't matter. He took advantage of what he was given today, and he was able to get his team down the field. We just get this in from Mark Lane. I want to give him credit. Mark Lane, he just reports that Orlando Scandrick has a broken left hand per Jerry Jones. Now, we've seen these things before. We'll have to keep monitoring this. We don't know if a broken left hand necessarily means Orlando Scandrick is going to spend a lot of time out. Sometimes they put a cast on that thing and a club on that thing, and then they go in. They just go out there and play. So we'll see what happens. But the Cowboys get the win tonight, 19-3. They beat the Giants. They do what they haven't done in the last 3 meetings, and it was a huge, I guess, momentum, you could say, but a huge confidence booster for the Cowboys, because look, the Cowboys needed to beat the New York Giants. They out of all the teams of last year, they had a 13-3 season. The one thing they didn't do was defeat the New York Giants. They lost both times, 10-7 and 20-19 in the opener last year. They really felt like they needed to prove that they could beat the New York Giants, and tonight they did, with the help from Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott, earlier in the week, it was announced that he was granted his injunction, so Zeke is going to play for the near future, probably going to play for the whole year, which is what most people are expecting. But Zeke had a great game tonight too. I mean, you look at this game, and you look at the stats in this game, and you say to yourself, like, this looks like two teams that were going, like, kind of going different ways. Like, you felt the New York Giants defense was going to be very good, but you didn't expect the Cowboys' young defense, the way that they did, the way that they played. We're going to go here and get some stats for you for this game. Just the way that they played tonight was the defense, I mean, really, really gave it their all, and I think that you just have to be excited if you're a Cowboys fan by the way that you saw this defense perform today, because look, this defense doesn't often perform as well as you would expect it to, and this defense is very young, so it's going to be hard to continue that route. But the way they started, you got to give them credit for it. You look at the way that they were able to get that interception at the end of the game. Sean Lee was just a man on fire, had 7 tackles. You had Nolan Carroll had 4 tackles. Nolan Carroll struggled through most of the preseason, got 4 tackles tonight. Jeff Heath got 4 tackles. DeMarcus Lawrence got 4 tackles and 2 sacks. DeMarcus Lawrence, I mean, come on, Tank Lawrence. Guy dropped 10 pounds in the offseason and wanted to be a little bit faster as an edge rusher. And he really, really did his job tonight. I don't think you can 2 sacks. I don't think you can really scoff at that. Jalen Smith, he forced a fumble, though the Giants were able to get that back. Jalen Smith also had 4 tackles, 3 assists. So total, he had 7 tackles. He only missed by 1 to Sean Lee. Sean Lee had 8 tackles total in this game, 7 and 1 assist. But you look at the way the defense played. Anthony Brown had that interception, sealed the game. Tyron Crawford played well. Stephen Paya, he's only going to show up on the stat line as having 1 tackle, but the man was collapsing the pocket on Eli Manning routinely. And we know that the New York Giants offensive line is not very good. And, what was kind of insane about this game is that Eric Flowers actually played pretty well. It was his other counterparts that didn't do so well. And, Charles Tapper got his first sack of the game. The Cowboys on 3rd down, they did what they did on offense to the New York Giants what they weren't able to do the last 2 times, and that was convert on third down. They had 22 first downs compared to the Giants' 13. I mean, they rushed for 9 of those, and they had 12 by passing, which is not like the Cowboys. They usually have way more first downs by rushing. Their third down efficiency was 8 of 15, which was 53%. So that's way better than what they were able to complete the last time. And they were able to hold the Giants to a third down efficiency of 33%. Not bad. The Cowboys also had 392 yards, almost 400 total yards of offense to the Giants' 233. I mean, think about this way. The Giants went out there and, everyone was worried about the Cowboys defense and what they were going to be able to do. But if you look at the Giants, the Giants play in this game, if you look at their offensive play, they're pretty much picking up where they left off last year. The Giants were one of the worst offenses in the league, even though they had Odell Beckham, even though they had Sterling Shepard, even though they had other weapons on their offense. They just weren't able to put the ball in the end zone. They had a terrible red zone defense last year. They were third in the league, just behind the Rams and 49ers, of having the most 3-and-outs last year. The Giants only scored like 19.4 points last year, which was well below, and it explains why when they faced off against the Packers in the playoffs, they just got demolished. The Cowboys, though it says 19-3 is the score, and the Giants defense played well, the Cowboys demolished the Giants tonight. They really, I really want you to go away. Like, even though there was only 1 touchdown scored by the Cowboys offense, they ran at will. Like, Ezekiel Elliott ran at will. And if you look at like the way that the defense handled the New York Giants too, you're talking about the New York Giants. Their first drive was a 3-and-out, which, I mean, it was just a quick 3-and-out sack by DeMarcus Lawrence that we told you earlier. Their next one was another 3-and-out. Their next drive, I mean, they didn't even score their first points until way after this one could have been decided, pretty much. Now they could have had some time to come back. They were doing well on their last drive where they actually got a field goal, but it's really, the Giants really didn't have a chance in this game. They really never, other than one drive, showed that they had some offense efficiency. After that, the Cowboys just kind of put the clamps down on them with their young guys, and that's what we want to talk about here, is that the Cowboys have a lot of young guys, okay, but that doesn't mean that they don't know how to play football. You're talking about Chidobe Awuzie stepping in. When Orlando Scandrick went out, Chidobe Awuzie had to play a lot more, but, Anthony Brown covered Scandrick's role, but that meant Chidobe Awuzie was the third cornerback on the field. They just played a really good football game, and I think you would have hoped that the Cowboys would have taken more advantage of some of their drives that they had. They could have been better on offense. They could have scored more points in this game, but at the same time, you gotta look at it and say, hey, they played way better than they did before against the New York Giants in the last couple of games, and they got the W, which is the most important thing, and it's a division win. And I think there was a stat somewhere on CBS or Fox today where I think it was Fox that said a division win, because it was during the Redskins and the Philadelphia Eagles game, which was a 30-17 win for the Eagles, but let's not even act like the Eagles looked good. Oh, my God, they looked atrocious, and so did the Redskins. They said that your first division win, if you win that first division game, you got like a 40% chance of winning your division. So the Cowboys are the division leaders. They didn't even have to beat the New York Giants to be division winners last year, but today they got that victory. They fell against the New York Giants defense, which was bringing it the whole time. They kept Dak off of his spot. They made him make some tough throws. And if you guys have a chance right now, if you missed the game, which I don't know why you would and be watching this, but if you missed the game, go and look at the Cole Beasley catch in the fourth quarter. I mean, Odell Beckham even made a face. It was incredible. I mean, Cole Beasley, that's probably the best catch we've seen since the Julian Edelman catch in the Super Bowl and the Odell Beckham one-finger catch in a losing effort to the Cowboys back in 2014. So go check that out. We're going to get out of here, but we're just going to let you know, guys, feel good. Tomorrow is Victory Monday. Wear your best Cowboys shirt. I'm wearing my Dak Prescott jersey here. I'm drinking my, beer here with the Dak Prescott koozie. Well, I just want to thank you, anybody that did join, and anybody that didn't join, doesn't even matter. If this video is going to be on there live on Facebook for you, so you can check it out. Feel good about this win. Just, gloat at work tomorrow. If you live in the New York area, definitely gloat. I used to live there. Go gloat against people who are New York Giants fans. Get this one out of your system. The Cowboys win 19-3. They pretty much dominate the New York Giants, though the score doesn't necessarily tell the whole story. And the Cowboys, guys, the Cowboys get win number 1. They face the Denver Broncos next week in Denver. That's going to be a tough game. Tough sledding against another tough defense. But I think the Dallas Cowboys, by proving what they were able to do against the New York Giants, they probably have a good shot against the Denver Broncos. So you will see us, Brews and the boys, you will see us back tomorrow, or well, actually Tuesday, with our podcast going over this win and also previewing you for the next game against the Denver Broncos, giving you all the information of the Ezekiel Elliott stuff that went down over the weekend that you pretty much know by now, but we'll go over it again just to kind of recap what's gone on over the last couple of days. The NFL season is here. We always say on the Brews and Boys podcast, all it takes to be an expert is a little bit of passion and a whole lot of beer. So take care, guys. We will see you next time on Brews and the Boys on the podcast, or maybe on Facebook Live following another win. Take care.